The morning sun cast golden rays across London as photographers gathered outside Kensington Palace, their cameras ready for what would become one of the most photographed arrivals of the year. Inside the palace walls, the Prince and Princess of Wales were preparing for a day that would capture the attention of millions around the world. Catherine, known to the public as Kate, stood before an ornate mirror in her dressing room, carefully adjusting the final details of her elegant navy blue coat dress. The outfit had been chosen months in advance, every detail scrutinized by her styling team to ensure it would photograph beautifully against the ancient stone walls of Westminster Abbey. Her hair, styled in loose waves, caught the light streaming through the tall windows of the palace. Meanwhile, Prince William reviewed the day's schedule with his private secretary in his study. The walls, lined with family photographs and royal memorabilia, served as a reminder of the weight of tradition that would accompany them to the Abbey. He glanced at his watch, noting they were running precisely on time, punctuality being a cornerstone of royal protocol that had been drilled into him since childhood. In the nursery wing of the palace, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis were being helped into their carefully coordinated outfits by their nanny and dressing assistants. 9-year-old George, now accustomed to formal events, stood patiently as his miniature navy suit was adjusted. His younger sister Charlotte, 7, twirled excitedly in her cream-colored dress, her dark hair neatly braided with a small bow. 5-year-old Louis, still learning the ropes of royal behavior, fidgeted with his collar while trying to peek out the window at the gathering crowd below. The atmosphere in the palace was one of controlled excitement. Staff members moved with practiced efficiency, ensuring every detail was perfect for the family's departure. Security personnel conducted final sweeps of the route, while the royal protection officers reviewed their positions for the journey to Westminster Abbey. Catherine joined William in the drawing room, where they shared a quiet moment before collecting their children. This brief pause had become their tradition before major public appearances, a chance to center themselves before stepping into the intense scrutiny that awaited them outside. William straightened his tie one final time, while Catherine checked that her small clutch bag contained everything she might need during the ceremony. The children were brought down by their nanny, their excitement barely contained as they understood they were about to embark on another royal adventure. Charlotte held her small purse with the seriousness of someone much older, while Louis bounced slightly on his toes, his energy infectious despite the formal setting. Outside, the sound of gathering crowds could be heard even through the thick palace walls. Royal correspondents had taken their positions along the route, ready to provide live commentary on every detail of the family's appearance. Social media was already buzzing with anticipation, royal watchers from around the world waiting for the first glimpse of the family. The palace's head of communications gave William and Catherine a final briefing about the day's media arrangements and the expected crowds at Westminster Abbey. They nodded, both understanding the delicate balance between royal duty and family life that would play out in front of the cameras. As the appointed departure time approached, the family gathered in the entrance hall of Kensington Palace. The children stood close to their parents, George and Charlotte having learned from experience how to handle the attention that would greet them, while Louis looked around with wide-eyed curiosity at the formal atmosphere surrounding them. Staff members made final adjustments to clothing and hair, ensuring the family looked perfect for the cameras that would capture every angle of their arrival. Catherine smoothed Charlotte's dress while William placed a reassuring hand on George's shoulder, the small gestures speaking to their roles as both royal figures and devoted parents. The sound of car engines could be heard outside as the royal convoy prepared for departure. Through the windows, the gleam of the official cars could be seen, polished to perfection and flying the royal standard. Security personnel took their final positions, creating the invisible shield that would protect the family throughout their journey across London. In these final moments before stepping into public view, the Wales family stood together in their private space, a unit of 5 about to become the focus of global attention. The weight of expectation was palpable, yet there was also an undercurrent of excitement about the significant event that awaited them at Westminster Abbey. The heavy oak doors of Kensington Palace swung open, and the first flash of camera lights illuminated the Wales family as they stepped into view. The transformation was immediate and striking, from private family to global symbols, watched by millions. Catherine emerged first, her navy coat dress catching the morning light as she moved with the practiced grace that had made her a fashion icon worldwide. William followed closely behind, his morning suit impeccable, the picture of royal dignity as he surveyed the scene before them. The children appeared next, their coordinated outfits creating a picture-perfect family tableau that would dominate front pages around the world within hours. George walked with increasing confidence, having learned to handle the attention that came with his position as future king. The gathered photographers called out politely, hoping for a glance or wave from the family as they made their way toward the waiting cars. Charlotte gave a small wave, her natural charm evident even at 7 years old, while Louis looked around with barely contained excitement at the spectacle surrounding them. The royal convoy consisted of 3 sleek, armored vehicles, each one polished to mirror perfection and flying small royal standards. Security personnel, both visible and discreet, had created a careful perimeter around the departure point. The lead car, which would carry the family, stood with its door held open by a uniformed chauffeur who had been driving royal family members for over 2 decades. As they approached their vehicle, Catherine paused to speak briefly with the senior security officer, confirming the route and timing for their journey to Westminster Abbey. This small interaction, barely noticed by onlookers, demonstrated the careful coordination required for any royal movement through London's busy streets. William helped the children into the car, ensuring each was properly seated and secured. Louis, still fascinated by the formal protocols, watched intently as his father showed him how to wave appropriately from the car window. Charlotte, already experienced in royal car travel, settled into her seat with the composure of someone twice her age. The interior of the royal car was luxurious, yet practical, with comfortable seating arranged to ensure the family would arrive at Westminster Abbey looking fresh and composed. Bottles of water were discreetly placed within reach and tissues were available for any last-minute touch-ups before their public appearance. Catherine took a final look in a small, compact mirror, checking that her hair remained perfectly in place despite the London breeze. William reviewed a brief summary of the day's proceedings, ensuring he was familiar with every detail of the ceremony they were about to attend. The car engines started simultaneously, a well-orchestrated symphony of precision that marked the beginning of their journey across London. The lead security vehicle pulled away first, followed by the royal car with a third vehicle bringing up the rear. Royal protection officers on motorcycles took their positions alongside the convoy, creating a mobile security envelope. As they drove through the palace gates, crowds of well-wishers who had gathered in the early morning hours cheered and waved. Some held British flags, others snapped photos with their phones, all hoping to catch a glimpse of the popular royal family. The children pressed their faces to the windows, waving back at the enthusiastic supporters. The route to Westminster Abbey had been carefully planned to avoid the heaviest traffic, while still allowing the public opportunities to see the royal family. Traffic had been partially cleared along their path, with police officers stationed at key intersections to ensure smooth passage through London's typically congested streets. Inside the car, the family maintained conversation while remaining aware of their public visibility. William pointed out landmarks to Louis, who was still young enough to be fascinated by the changing scenery outside the windows. Charlotte chatted quietly with her mother about the day's events, displaying the natural curiosity that had endeared her to the public. The convoy moved with practiced efficiency through the streets of London, past historic buildings and modern developments that told the story of a city constantly evolving while respecting its past. Pedestrians stopped to watch the royal cars pass, many raising their phones to capture the moment they saw the future king and queen. As they traveled, Catherine made small adjustments to the children's clothing and hair, ensuring they would look perfect upon arrival. These motherly gestures, occasionally caught by photographers along the route, highlighted her ability to balance royal duty with genuine maternal care. The security motorcycles maintained their formation around the convoy, their riders in constant communication with command centers that monitored every aspect of the journey. This invisible network of protection allowed the royal family to travel with confidence through London's busy streets. Radio chatter between security personnel provided updates on crowd sizes and traffic conditions ahead, ensuring that any necessary adjustments could be made to maintain both safety and schedule. The precision of these operations reflected years of experience in moving the royal family safely through public spaces. The ancient spires of Westminster Abbey came into view as the royal convoy turned the final corner, and the magnitude of the waiting crowd became immediately apparent. Thousands of people lined the streets, many having arrived before dawn to secure the best viewing positions. The sight was both breathtaking and humbling. A sea of faces all turned expectantly toward the approaching cars. Security barriers had been erected along the Abbey's perimeter, creating organized viewing areas where the public could safely gather. Behind these barriers, people stood several rows deep, many holding cameras and phones high above their heads in hopes of capturing the perfect shot of the royal family's arrival. The convoy slowed as it approached the Abbey, allowing those gathered to get their first clear look at the occupants of the royal car. Catherine could be seen adjusting her hair one final time, while William pointed out the impressive Gothic architecture to his youngest son, who was pressing his face against the window in wonder. Police horses and their riders formed an additional security perimeter around the Abbey grounds, their presence both practical and ceremonial. The officers, dressed in their traditional uniforms, added to the pageantry of the occasion while maintaining order among the enthusiastic crowds. Media personnel had established their positions hours earlier, with camera crews from major networks around the world setting up their equipment for optimal coverage of the arrival. Photographers with long telephoto lenses were positioned at strategic points, ready to capture every moment of the family's emergence from their vehicle. The royal car came to a gentle stop directly in front of Westminster Abbey's main entrance, where a red carpet had been rolled out for the occasion. The ancient stone steps, worn smooth by centuries of royal ceremonies, would soon echo with the footsteps of the Wales family as they made their way into the historic building. Abbey officials, dressed in their formal ceremonial robes, waited at the entrance to greet the royal family. These men and women, guardians of one of Britain's most sacred spaces, had overseen countless royal occasions and understood the delicate balance between tradition and the needs of a modern royal family with young children. The car door was opened by the uniformed chauffeur, and Catherine stepped out first, her navy coat dress immediately catching the attention of fashion observers around the world. The morning light highlighted the careful attention to detail in her outfit choice, from the perfectly coordinated accessories to the subtle but elegant jewelry that complemented her ensemble. William emerged next, his morning suit a study in understated elegance that reflected both royal tradition and contemporary style. His confident bearing as he surveyed the scene demonstrated his comfort with the intense public attention that accompanied every royal appearance. The children's exit from the car was carefully orchestrated, with George stepping out first as the eldest, followed by Charlotte, who immediately straightened her cream-colored dress with the precision of someone well-versed in public appearances. Louis came last, his excitement barely contained as he took in the spectacular scene surrounding them. The sound of the crowd's reaction was overwhelming, thousands of voices calling out greetings, words of encouragement and expressions of admiration for the young family. Camera shutters clicked in rapid succession, creating a symphony of mechanical sounds that accompanied the royal family's every movement. Catherine took Louis's hand while William placed a protective arm around George's shoulders, the family forming a united group as they prepared to walk the red carpet to the Abbey entrance. Charlotte walked between her parents, her natural poise evident as she acknowledged the crowd with a small wave. The walk from the car to the Abbey entrance, though only a matter of yards, would be captured from dozens of angles and broadcast, lived to millions around the world. Each step was measured and deliberate, allowing photographers time to capture the images that would define this moment in royal history. Abbey bells began to ring as the family approached the entrance, the ancient sounds resonating across London and adding a layer of gravitas to the proceedings. These same bells had rung for royal weddings, coronations, and state occasions for centuries, connecting this modern moment to the long chain of British history. The Dean of Westminster Abbey stepped forward to personally greet the Wales family, his formal robes a reminder of the sacred nature of the building they were about to enter. This greeting, though brief, represented the continuing relationship between the royal family and the church that has played such a central role in British history. Security personnel maintained their discreet but vigilant presence, their eyes constantly scanning the crowd and surrounding areas, while allowing the royal family to move naturally through their public role. Years of training and experience allowed them to provide protection, while remaining nearly invisible to observers. The moment stretched out, each second captured by countless cameras and witnessed by thousands of onlookers who would remember this day for years to come. The Wales family, poised at the threshold of Westminster Abbey, represented both the continuing tradition of the British monarchy and its evolution to meet the demands of the modern world. The massive wooden doors of Westminster Abbey opened to reveal the breathtaking interior that had witnessed nearly 1,000 years of British history. As the Wales family crossed the threshold, they entered a space where kings and queens had been crowned, where royal weddings had taken place, and where the nation's most significant ceremonies had unfolded for generations. The Abbey's soaring Gothic arches stretched high above them, creating a sense of awe that even the youngest members of the family could feel. Louis looked up in wonder at the intricate stone carvings and colorful stained glass windows that filtered the morning light into brilliant patterns across the ancient floor. Inside, distinguished guests were already seated in the carefully arranged pews, each person having received their invitation months in advance. Members of Parliament, foreign dignitaries, religious leaders, and representatives from various charitable organizations filled the Abbey, creating an atmosphere of anticipation and reverence. Catherine gracefully navigated the Abbey's layout, her heels clicking softly on the stone floor as she guided Charlotte along the aisle. Her experience at major ceremonial events was evident in the way she moved through the space, acknowledging important guests with subtle nods while maintaining the dignity expected of her position. William walked with the measured pace of someone comfortable in such grand surroundings, having attended countless ceremonies in Westminster Abbey throughout his life. He occasionally leaned down to whisper explanations to George about the historical significance of various elements within the building, sharing knowledge that would one day be part of his eldest son's own royal education. The choir, positioned in their traditional location, had been rehearsing for weeks to ensure their performance would be flawless. As the royal family took their designated seats, the ethereal sound of voices filled the Abbey, adding to the spiritual atmosphere that made this building so special for state occasions. Photographers positioned at approved locations within the Abbey captured the family's movements with telephoto lenses, their cameras equipped with silent shutters to avoid disturbing the solemnity of the proceedings. These images would be distributed globally within minutes, allowing people around the world to witness the ceremony as it unfolded. Charlotte sat between her parents, her posture reflecting the lessons in royal protocol she had been learning since early childhood. Despite her young age, she understood the importance of the occasion and demonstrated the composure that had impressed observers at previous royal events. The Abbey's acoustics, perfected over centuries, carried every sound with crystal clarity. The rustle of silk gowns, the quiet conversations of guests, and the distant sound of crowds still gathering outside all combined to create the unique atmosphere that surrounded major royal occasions. Louis, seated next to his father, alternated between fascination with the Abbey's magnificent architecture and restlessness that was perfectly normal for a 5-year-old in such a formal setting. William occasionally placed a gentle hand on his youngest son's shoulder, providing both comfort and a subtle reminder of appropriate behavior. The ceremony began with traditional processional music that had been performed in Westminster Abbey for generations. The haunting melodies played on the Abbey's historic organ seemed to emerge from the very stones of the building, connecting this modern gathering to centuries of similar occasions. George followed along with the order of service, his reading ability allowing him to understand and participate in the proceedings in a way that demonstrated his growing maturity. His serious expression showed he grasped the significance of being present at such an important event. Sunlight streaming through the Abbey's famous windows created an ever-changing pattern of colors across the gathered congregation. The medieval, stained glass, some panels nearly 800 years old, told stories of saints and kings while casting rainbow hues across the Wales family's coordinated outfits. Distinguished guests occasionally glanced toward the royal pew, noting the family's attentive participation in the ceremony. Catherine's ability to keep all three children engaged and well-behaved drew admiring looks from other parents in the congregation who understood the challenge of managing young children in such a formal setting. The Abbey's bells continued to ring periodically throughout the ceremony, their deep tones reverberating through the ancient stones and across London. These bells, some of which had rung for the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II, connected this day to the long continuum of British royal history. Security personnel stationed discreetly throughout the Abbey maintained their vigilant watch while remaining nearly invisible to the congregation. Their presence was felt rather than seen, a professional shield that allowed the ceremony to proceed with the dignity and reverence appropriate to the sacred space. As the service progressed, the Wales family's genuine participation in the proceedings was evident to all observers. Their reverent attention to the speakers, their participation in the responses, and their obvious appreciation for the music and ceremony demonstrated the respect they held for the traditions being observed within Westminster Abbey's hallowed walls. As the ceremony within Westminster Abbey reached its crescendo, the Wales family demonstrated why they had become beloved figures not just in Britain, but around the world. Their genuine engagement with the proceedings, combined with their natural warmth and accessibility, created moments that would be remembered long after the formal events concluded. During a particularly moving musical performance by the Abbey Choir, Catherine was observed dabbing at her eyes with a discreet handkerchief, her emotional response to the beautiful music humanizing her in a way that resonated with observers worldwide. This authentic moment, captured by photographers, would become one of the most shared images of the day. William's protective instincts as a father were on full display as he helped Louis navigate the lengthy ceremony. When the youngest prince began to show signs of restlessness, his father quietly produced a small toy from his pocket, a thoughtful preparation that demonstrated how the couple balanced their royal duties with the practical needs of parenting young children. George's behavior throughout the ceremony impressed even veteran royal watchers. The 9-year-old demonstrated remarkable composure for someone his age, following along with the service and participating in the responses with an understanding that reflected his preparation for his future role as king. Charlotte's natural charisma shone through during the ceremony's quieter moments, her genuine smiles when greeting other attendees, and her careful attention to the proceedings showcased the confidence and grace that had made her a favorite with royal observers since her earliest public appearances. The ceremony featured readings from distinguished guests, each chosen for their contributions to British society. As these individuals took their turns at the Abbey's historic lectern, the Wales family listened with obvious attention and respect, their body language demonstrating their genuine interest in the words being shared. When it came time for the congregation to sing, the royal family's voices could be heard joining in with the traditional hymns. This participation, while expected, felt authentic rather than performatory, adding to the sense that they were genuine participants rather than mere observers at the ceremony. The Abbey's ancient stones seemed to absorb the energy of the gathering, creating an atmosphere that transcended the merely ceremonial. The Wales family, seated in pews that had held royalty for centuries, appeared completely at ease in this historic setting while remaining accessible and relatable to modern observers. During one of the ceremony's most solemn moments, Louis leaned against his mother's arm, seeking comfort in the familiar presence while trying to maintain appropriate behavior. Catherine's gentle response, smoothing his hair while keeping her attention on the proceedings, exemplified her skill at managing multiple roles simultaneously. The interplay of ancient tradition and modern monarchy was particularly evident in how the family engaged with the ceremony's various elements. Their respect for established protocols was balanced with a natural warmth that made them seem approachable despite their elevated position in society. As readings concluded and music swelled throughout the Abbey, the Wales family's coordinated appearance created a visual harmony that photographers captured from multiple angles. Their carefully chosen outfits, which had looked elegant during their arrival, proved equally photogenic in the Abbey's dramatic lighting. The ceremony's spiritual elements clearly resonated with the royal family, their participation in prayers and moments of reflection appearing genuine and heartfelt. This authentic engagement with the religious aspects of the service reinforced their connection to the Church of England and their understanding of the monarchy's role as defender of the faith. When the final musical performance began, all three children listened with rapt attention, their faces reflecting wonder at the extraordinary acoustics and skill of the performers. These unguarded moments of childhood amazement, occurring within the formal structure of a state ceremony, captured the delicate balance the family maintained between public duty and private life. The ceremony's conclusion approached with the same stately pace that had characterized the entire proceedings. The Wales family prepared to process out of the Abbey, knowing that their departure would be as carefully observed and photographed as their arrival had been hours earlier. Security personnel began making discreet preparations for the family's exit, coordinating with Abbey officials to ensure a smooth transition from the sacred space back to the public arena outside. The crowds that had waited patiently during the ceremony were preparing for another glimpse of the popular royal family as they emerged from Westminster Abbey's historic doors. The great doors of Westminster Abbey opened once again, and the Wales family emerged into the afternoon light to find an even larger crowd had gathered during the ceremony. The enthusiasm of the waiting public was immediately apparent, with cheers and applause erupting as soon as the royal family appeared on the Abbey steps. Catherine paused at the top of the stone steps, taking a moment to acknowledge the crowd with a warm smile and gentle wave. The afternoon sun highlighted the elegant lines of her navy coat dress, which had photographed beautifully throughout the day and would undoubtedly influence fashion trends for months to come. William joined his wife at the top of the steps, and, together, they presented a picture of modern royalty that balanced dignity with approachability. His morning suit remained impeccable despite the long ceremony, and his confident bearing as he surveyed the enthusiastic crowd demonstrated his comfort with the public attention that defined royal life. The children emerged with barely contained excitement after the lengthy ceremony inside the Abbey. George maintained his composure admirably, but his eyes widened at the sight of the massive crowd that had gathered to see them. Charlotte immediately began waving to the people, calling her name, her natural instinct for public interaction evident. In every gesture, Louis, freed from the constraints of the formal ceremony, looked ready to bound down the Abbey steps with the energy of any 5-year-old who had been sitting still for an extended period. William placed a gentle but firm hand on his youngest son's shoulder, guiding him through the protocols of royal departure. The crowd's reaction was extraordinary, with people calling out messages of support and admiration for the young family. Many in the crowd had been waiting for hours, and their patience was rewarded with generous waves and smiles from all 5 members of the Wales family as they slowly descended the Abbey steps. Photographers captured every moment of the departure, their lenses focused on the family's interactions with each other and their responses to the enthusiastic crowd. The images being created in these moments would appear on front pages around the world, testament to the global fascination with this particular royal family. Security personnel maintained their professional perimeter while allowing the family maximum interaction with the public. The careful balance between protection and accessibility that characterized modern royal security was evident in how smoothly the departure proceeded, despite the size and enthusiasm of the gathered crowd. Catherine took time to point out various elements of the crowd to Charlotte, sharing quiet observations that helped her daughter understand how to engage appropriately with public enthusiasm. These motherly moments, occurring within the framework of royal duty, exemplified her skill at combining parental guidance with public responsibilities. The walk from the Abbey steps to the waiting royal cars became an extended photo opportunity, with the family moving at a measured pace that allowed photographers to capture the images they needed while giving the public extended viewing time. Each step was carefully considered, balancing the needs of media coverage with family comfort. William engaged briefly with Abbey officials, thanking them for their hospitality and the beautiful ceremony. These interactions, though formal, carried genuine warmth and demonstrated the personal relationships that existed behind the public protocols of royal engagements. The children's different personalities were clearly visible during the departure. George walked with increasing confidence but remained close to his parents. Charlotte charmed onlookers with her natural grace and obvious enjoyment of the attention, while Louis provided moments of unpredictability that delighted the crowd. As they approached their waiting vehicle, Catherine made final adjustments to the children's clothing, ensuring they would look as impeccable departing as they had arriving hours earlier. These small maternal gestures, captured by alert photographers, reinforced her image as a hands-on mother despite her elevated position. The crowd began calling out specific messages to individual family members, with many people expressing admiration for how well-behaved the children had been during the lengthy ceremony. These spontaneous expressions of public approval clearly pleased William and Catherine, who exchanged brief smiles as they heard the positive feedback. The royal car awaited them with its door held open, the same precision and attention to detail that had characterized their arrival being repeated for their departure. The vehicle's interior had been prepared with the same care, ensuring the family's comfort for their return journey to Kensington Palace. Before entering the car, the entire family turned back toward the crowd for a final wave, creating a picture-perfect moment that would be remembered long after the day concluded. The genuine warmth of their farewell to the gathered public demonstrated why they had become such beloved figures both in Britain and internationally. As the car doors closed and the royal convoy prepared to depart Westminster Abbey, the successful conclusion of another significant royal engagement was evident. The Wales family had once again demonstrated their ability to balance the demands of royal duty with the warmth and authenticity that had made them favorites with the public worldwide.